guys, welcome back to Karma Lately. Today we're going to do a DIY medical face mask. Please join me. A brief disclaimer. These masks are not N95 masks, nor are they approved by the FDA. This is just a safety precaution that we can take when we are out of official masks. Something is always better than nothing, and if you're out and about and you want to cover your face, these masks actually do have a filter that we can create at home, so that's what this is for. And as long as you understand that, we can proceed with our tutorial. So here is my toolbox, and I'm going to be showing you guys a couple of things that you can use as alternatives if you don't have everything that I have. The first thing you should have in your tool belt is your ruler or your tape measure, whichever one you want to use. In this case, I'm going to be using these binder clips, but you can use anything that you have lying around that you feel will hold the fabric well in certain areas where we'll need, like safety pins. You can use these sewing pins. You can use paper clips, anything you have lying around. I'd even go as far as using needles. If you have extra needles, just be careful. You'll also need bendy metal, and if you don't have anything handy, you can use the one from the bread. A needle and thread or sewing machine, and I'll be showing you guys a real quick basic stitch tutorial later on if you are using a needle and thread. Now let's go into some of the cords that you can use. Now you can use an elastic cord. This one I would cut. You wouldn't want it so thick, so I would cut it to make it thinner. For one of my daughter's masks, I used the elastic cord that you use for Christmas wrapping. But you doesn't have to be elastic. You can use a shoelace, ribbon, and this is the exact ribbon that I used for my youngest daughter's mask. One of her favorite colors is pink, and so you can also use another type of ribbon, and it can be thick, it's up to you, or you can use just simple fabric strips. Almost forgot, I am going to be needing some fabric strips for this tutorial, and you'll see why later. First thing you're also going to need scissors and an iron. One piece of fabric. This will be the fabric that you're going to have over facing everyone, and that should be, in this case, it's 7.5 by 7 inches. For the second piece, there's going to be 2 pieces actually for the inner part, meaning the part that will be on your mouth, making it 7 inches wide and 5 inches high. You'll need 2 pieces of this. In my case, I didn't have enough of that fabric, so I decided to use fabric strips to create a second piece. And I'll show you how I do that here. So I'm just measuring these fabric strips, and I decided to get 3 pieces. I measured them, and this is their about measurements, about 2.5 inches thick and 7 inches, about 7 inches wide. So I'm going to join these kind of like a quilt to make my second piece. And this is perfect for any one of you who doesn't have the extra fabric in hand. So here we're just going to thread our needle. And one thing I do recommend, which has been recommended on other sites by health professionals, you should be using cotton, maybe nylon, wool. You can use those kind of non-synthetic fabrics. Now I'm measuring the thread because I think that when you're a beginner sewer, you shouldn't have a very long piece. And so here it measured to about 18 inches. So do up to about 18 inches, a little less if you feel more comfortable with less. You're gonna twirl up the end into a little ball, however thick you feel comfortable with. I wouldn't do it too thick. And then just put the needle through the ball and sew it. I like to do it twice so that I have a nice secure knot at the end. And that's how I make my knot at the end of the needle. I'm sorry, at the end of the thread. So we're gonna take our we're gonna just start with 2 pieces of fabric. We're gonna put it one side right side up and the other side right side facing down, which means the wrong side is up. And we're gonna put our needle right through both of these fabrics. As you can see, the knot is not letting you pass that point. Now I'm going to show you 2 different types of techniques that you can use. The first one, you can just stitch right along the edge, just like this, where the edge of the fabric has the thread. And you can make a little knot like that going through the loop for the first one, and then just keep going through the fabric just like that. It might get tangled, it might get confusing, but you'll get the hang of it. The second stitch, we're going to go in like this. Let's fix the camera so you guys can see. You'll go in and out, in and out, just like that. Then just make a little knot. You do a few stitches, make a little knot by going through the loop and pulling, and then go back, in and out, feeding the needle through the fabric, just like that. And I put paper clips there just to hold everything together and to show you guys. You can continue to use these clips as you need to. Some people might not need them. Some people feel more comfortable. It's okay. There is no right or wrong, whether you're a professional or not. So we're going to do that last piece and then we're going to do a quick little knot. Go in once and then through the loop and pull. There's your knot. And no matter which way you did it, you should have had a nice turnout. Now, not my best work. I'm doing it in the air in front of the camera and I was trying to do it really quickly, but now you go to the third part, same way, right side facing up, but I'm going to clean up the one that I sewed by hand with the sewing machine, but you can still get a precise stitch, the same precise stitch, by hand stitching. If you do it calmly and you're not rushing. There's no rush. Your iron is your best friend. It's going to make this process so much easier. Now I'm just going to clean up my strips. They should be 7 inches wide and 5 inches high. I have 2 now. Now we're going to take one part, whichever side you want, and you're going to fold it at about 1/4 of an inch. And if you like to eyeball things the way I like to eyeball things, then don't worry about the ruler. Just do as I do it as close to as the way I do it as possible, and that's it. Yeah, so this is 1/4 of an inch, and I'm just clipping both sides. I'm going to go in the middle with my iron. And the iron lays it down flat. Now I'm going to sew all along that fold. Not too close to the edge, you don't want it to come undone. Same thing with the other part. Remember, you were going to need 2 pieces that were 5 inches and 7 inches. Fold it at 1/4 of an inch. And iron. And take your time, fix it if you feel like it's not even. Nothing comes out perfectly the first time, and none of my masks look perfect, and I don't claim to be a professional mask maker. I just learned how to make these. I'm sharing what I learned on this channel. Now you're going to sew just as you did the other piece. And that's what this channel is about. It's about creating things from what you have at home. Now you should have your 2 pieces. Now let's get the original first piece, right side facing up, and this is the piece that the world will see. Great. Now we're going to take one piece with the wrong side facing up, and on the side that is not sewn, you're going to put that flush with the bottom side of your lower fabric, and try to put it as close to the middle as possible. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. Wrong side facing up with the side that you did not sew, and put it flush along the edge of the bottom fabric. Just going to give it a quick press. Remember, we're working with the widest part of our 2 fabric pieces. Let's secure that in place with whatever it is that you're using. And we're gonna leave these clips on the side, because no matter if you're sewing with your hands, if you're hand stitching, or if you're sewing with the sewing machine, those 2 sides will not go through the machine right now. Sew on both sides, all the way from one side to the other. Great. Let's take those clips off and open up and see what we've got. And this is what it should kind of look like. Now the seams are going to have some folds. Please don't force it to go against what it wants to be. Just let it be. You see how it wants to fold down that way? Don't try to fold it. Don't try to press it down in the opposite direction. Let the fabric tell you how it wants to be pressed down, and then take your iron and press it down. Fold the flaps inward like I did here, and press it down. Now you have to decide which part you want to have as your top part. I wanted the colorful part to show, so I used the dark part, which is the denim. That denim fabric is the top part of the mask, and the cotton fabric is the bottom. And I like denim because denim usually has cotton, mostly cotton in it. It's usually a denim cotton blend. So now we're going to take our metal, and we're going to tuck it in all the way at the top part of that middle piece, right under the seam. And we're going to take our double-sided tape, and I saw quite a few people do this online, and I thought it was genius. You just take the double-sided tape, put it on top of your bendy metal, and it will keep the metal secure so that when you're ready to sew right under the metal to secure it, it won't be moving around. I couldn't find thicker double-sided tape. Hopefully you have some thicker tape. Then we're going to fold our seam down, and then that piece that's on the outer part, we're going to bring it down. This is that is the top. For my mask, that part will be on my nose. I'm going to pull it a little bit more because it still needed to be pulled a little more, and that's the pressing. Now I'm pressing it down. I'm going to be putting it through the machine, and we're going to be sewing right underneath where that metal is. So you're going to feel out for the metal, and you're going to sew all along from one edge all the way to the other. Even the outer edge, the edge of the fabric that's underneath, you're going to sew it all the way through because we don't want that metal to be moving around. So now it's secure, and now it bends and it's flexible and it's good. Remember, you can use anything that has a bending metal, the one from the loaf of bread, whatever. Now fold your pieces in and press it down. You can press it down with the iron. I just put the top part of the mask at the bottom. You can see the seam right there. I'm holding, that's actually the top part, even though I have it at the bottom. And now we're going to start folding in these pleats. Every time I make a pleat, I am going to clip it down. I'm just gonna straighten it up so you can see it from the top. I just wanted you to see it on both angles. We're gonna make a second pleat, and we're going to clip it down. There will be only 3 pleats in total. Be patient with your hands, be patient with the fabric, and with the tutorial. And last pleat. I ended up sticking a needle right in there to hold it in place temporarily while I flipped it onto the other side where I felt comfortable, and iron and press it down. I like to iron it on both sides. Now we're going to take it to our sewing machine, or we're going to start stitching by hand. Make sure you're getting a nice straight line and you're sewing it down with both pleats, the pleat from the front of the mask and the pleat from the back of the mask. One straight sewing stitch should do the job. And again on this side. This is what you have so far, and you should be happy and proud with what you have. 8. Now we're going to take a fatter strip of fabric, and this strip, I chose one that matched my mask, but it can be a contrasting color of any kind. It should be about 4 inches wide, and we'll discuss length a little later. But it's going to go on either side, and the purpose of it is to clean up these raw edges and hide our seams. So it's kind of going to act like a bias binding. Okay, and it's going to clean up the edges on both the seams and the edges on both sides. So we're going to cut 2 pieces. Just make sure that it's at least 4 inches wide. Wide meaning from one side of the mask to the other, that it's at least 4 inches wide. And that piece, those 2 pieces are exactly 4 inches wide. Now you're going to take it wrong side facing up, and you're going to get it flush with the mask. You see that? initial seam that we're trying to cover, well, I want you to get a pen. I want you to find that seam. So you're going to see where it is. You're going to take a look, and then you're going to mark past the seam, going more towards the inner part of the mask, because we don't want that seam to show when we pull that fabric back. So you're just going to look at where the seam is and then pass it deeper. Now we're going to do it again on the other side, wrong side facing up. Put it flush to the edge of the mask, find where the old seam is, and then you're going to mark it deeper than that, a little deeper than where that old seam is, and making sure that you're just sewing on the mask. You don't need to sew the edges. I thought I was going to do that, but I decided not to, because I wanted my ribbon or my tie to be flexible. I'll show you that in a minute. So this is what you should be left with. Now this is the ribbon I decided because it matches the pink on the front of the mask. So it's like an orangey, like an orange pink, mamey color. Now we're gonna tuck this ribbon, or whatever it is that you're deciding to use, elastic, whatever, make it as long or well, typically as long as you'd like, because remember you're going to be tying it, and then stuff it right in the middle, right in between the flap there and the fabric that you just sewed. Now you're going to bring this fabric over and you're going to tuck it in and press down. That's going to clean up your edges and not show any seam, and you're just going to sew right on top of that. I should have changed my my thread to a darker thread, but see how here I can move my ribbon? I actually want that because I want to be able to change the ribbon later, and that's making it easier for me. We're going to do the same thing on this side. That's why you want at least 4 inches give, because 4 inches wide. Make sure you pull it taut, nice and taut, and you want the ribbon to be long enough. You want it at least 4 inches wide because you're going to lose some inches in the front. And now here we're going to tuck it in, fold over, and then we're going to press that down and sew this down. And I believe in you. I know that you can do this. There it is. If I want to change my ribbons, I can, and that's that. There's our pocket, and now we're gonna put our filter in our pocket. I'm using this pad. You can use wee pads, hospital pads, adult pads, whatever it is that you have handy. I heard vacuum pads or filters. There's so many different things that people are using, so I'm just using this. I like that it has 2 layers, and I'm going to create more layers. So I'm going to take my bounty. This is half of a bounty sheet. I'm going to cut that half in half, and then I'm going to layer these. So now I have 4 layers, and now I fold that, and now I have 8 layers. And now I put this right inside, and you can change. You should change your filter every time you go out, and then sterilize your mask. That's what it looks like on the inside and the outside. There's the bendy part that we sewed in. That's your adjustable nose part, so you can press it down to adjust your particular nose. And that's my homemade mask. Remember guys, these are not FDA approved. They're not N95 masks. It's something is better than nothing. I just want to thank you guys so much for joining me. Please stay tuned for more videos, and like, subscribe, comment, Thank you so much for watching. Peace.